Hey guys, welcome to another episode. This one we're going to be replacing the rear brake pads on the Supra. We're not touching the discs because they're fine, but the brake pads are finished. You would have seen us finish them at Sheepy's Track Day last episode. Thanks to Yakuza Motorsports, we've been supplied these Intimo racing pads. These are going to be awesome for the track and awesome for the street. They have been my biggest supporters from the get-go when we did Uluru, and they still are now. Remember, when racing, braking is extremely important, so you're going to need some high quality pads, high quality brake fluid, and braided lines if you don't already have them. Now if you've added more power to your car, bigger brakes are better, but the factory ones typically are adequate. Anyway, let's change these brakes.
I like to crack loose my wheel nuts off in a star pattern. There isn't a huge benefit to this, but it keeps the pressure release even when removing the wheels. Once this is done, I just take them off one by one in a normal circular pattern. And as you can see, my Zestinos still have plenty of life in them after all the track days and driving on the street.
Okay guys, now that the wheel is removed, first thing you're going to do is you're going to check your discs. Now I can feel and see here that these still are quite new. There's hardly any lip on them whatsoever, even though you see this line of rust. That's just the surface that's not getting touched by the pad. Everything appears normal in here, doesn't seem anything out of the ordinary. Could go new suspension though, but otherwise this here is what it is. Now you can see straight away, well I can't show you properly from here, but the pads are finished. They went metal to metal, at least on the left side. This side hasn't been making noise, but the backing of the pad is right up against that disc. There are two types of calipers, sliding caliper and fixed caliper. Now, for this Supra, it came with sliding calipers front and rear, 2 piston fronts, 1 piston rear, but I've upgraded the front, and you've seen them on another video of doing the front brakes. Those are fixed brake calipers. They are one solid unit where they have 2 pins that hold the back of the pad in. You remove those pins and you take the pads out from the back. They work by having pistons on either side. The fronts are a 4-piston brake caliper, so you have even force being pressed on both sides to clamp the disc. This is a sliding caliper. So with a sliding caliper, you have a frame, I guess, and in the middle is the actual part that clamps the disc. Now the way that works is it has a piston on one side, and once you press your brake pedal, through the line comes the pressure and pumps that piston into a pad. This also has the effect of pulling this whole unit across, and it clamps with mostly even pressure. Not as ideal for racing, but a cheaper alternative for manufacturers than using fixed calipers. These will be upgraded at some point, but for now they are staying as they are. I haven't had any issues with them as yet, but I definitely want to get like a 4-piston conversion for the back and 6 pistons up front. That's something for the future, but not really the near future at this point in time. We're going to move this center piece now and get the pads out so I can show you up close. Now you can loosen one of these bolts, or both, up to you. Sometimes necessary for both. Also, what you're going to want to do with these is actually press the piston back. You're going to actually suck some of the brake fluid out if you've got a bottle to suck that out. I've already done that. I'll show you now what that looks like.
The better option is an air-controlled vacuum bottle, which is purposefully designed for this, but sometimes I can't be bothered to hook up the air line, drag it out, and make noise, so this works too. Brake fluid will eat your paint, so try not to get any spillage. If you do, wash it off with water ASAP, but make sure the reservoir is sealed and make sure no water gets in.
And then you'll come back here, and because these are old anyway, you can get something like a lever bar. Small one, doesn't have to be anything crazy. You need to press that piston back. I like to use the old pad to do so. This way you don't damage the disc, and you're able to move this fairly freely. Actually, I'll remove this altogether to show you a little bit better. This is what the inside of a sliding caliper looks like. So there's your framework, your piston here, and that pushes against the pad inside, pulls this back, and they clamp together. Put that aside, because that's not really necessary at the moment. These springs here exist solely to push the pads apart when the pressure is released from the caliper, and that stops them from making noise, squealing, or scratching, or wearing out as you drive. So we'll take them out, get these back. Yeah. So these ones didn't actually go metal to metal, but they were just about there. The inside one typically though wears a little bit faster. As you can see, the piston does actually press against that first, so it might be a little more worn. Nope, these ones are clear. These ones did not go metal to metal. So that's the difference between new and used. we have hammered them. So see here, we'll slide them in there. They slot line up to that. In, beautiful. Now this won't fit because we didn't push the piston back the whole way. I was just giving you an example before, but now, see that? That's a problem. I've jumped a bit of a step here. So we'll use the old pad. This is just to protect the disc. We'll put that in there. There are many different ways to do this. There are even tools to do this. You put that in there, chuck that in, and you can pull across. And you do that until the piston is practically flush. Could go a little more. This poor rubber boot. Don't know how that's even still alive after all these years. Anyway, I think that'll be enough. You put this back in. You have to make sure this is protected. This little dust boot is everything. Why didn't that go in? Okay, off camera I've manipulated this to sit this way. I've never had it where the rubber actually stayed out, so this might be just a sign of the age and the rubber not really moving as it's supposed to. Never let this rubber get pinched by this, otherwise you will suffer seal and you will have this fail prematurely. I think this should be just okay to go over. We're going to get that back on the car now, because once we go in it's just going to push that aside. We have to put these pins in, so you've got your holes there as all ready to go. You've got the top, and we put the caliper back over the whole thing. Any bolt first. Second bolt. Remember, when tightening these, they're not insanely huge bolts, so you can't go too far with them. You will crack them. I have seen it. Be patient, be nice to it, and it will be nice to you. I don't know exactly what torque specs to use, but after years of this, by feel, you know how far to go, when to stop. That's it. When you're done, do not forget to pump the brake pedal.
It only takes a few pumps and it's done. But let's keep it about the cars, eh? Once the pedal is firm, check the fluid level.
Otherwise, you will have no feel for a second. Okay, rear brake pads are done. Time to get the wheel back on and call it a day.
Same star pattern to tighten the wheel nuts for that even mounting of the wheel. And make sure the fluid is full, but not too high as it will heat up and probably over-pressurize, leaking from the lid while you're driving. Make sure you use the fluid specified for your car, and if you're racing, you can check out the range of racing brake fluid at Yakuza Motorsports. Thanks for watching, guys. Now the brakes are done, we'll head out to another event. I'll catch you on the next one. And hey, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Ciao!